This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up, and welcome to Hot Takes, where I respond to the comments that you leave under my videos all week. A ton of videos. I'll even talk about the new upload schedule as I react to these comments. But let's start with the comments from my video about the Browns maybe winning the Super Bowl. I hope y'all appreciate this thumbnail, by the way. I kind of had to go to work on this thumbnail to make that a Browns Super Bowl champion t-shirt. You know, it's the small details, switching out the college football trophy for the Lombardi. You know, I sometimes the thumbnails are easy. Sometimes I got to get a little bit more creative. And this was definitely one of them situations where I had to get creative with it. So I hope y'all appreciate the little details on the thumbnail. If you even noticed them, I feel like a lot of people just assumed I used the college football playoff one, didn't get the thumbnail a second thought, which is fair, right? Because who's actually really paying attention to those that much? But Don Badger says the 2023 Browns roster is the best roster since before the old Browns left. There's a lot of high quality players and continuity in the coaching staff. If injuries don't derail them, this is the season we've been waiting for a long time. And in response to that, I would say, yeah, like this roster looks good. It feels like in some respects the right place in the right time, right? Like this, everything seems to be lining up. You're getting, you expect good quarterback play. The roster looks good. I have every reason to expect that this team's good. And I'm going to keep it real with you. If you just pay attention to how the Browns are moving and compare that to how they've moved since Andrew Berry's been here, the Browns feel this way, right? Like that's the most important thing, is that internally, they're not doing any measure of bet hedging. They're not making moves that seem like they're for a year or two down the line. All these moves point to this is our opportunity to attack. And that might also be because, you know, their back's more against the wall than it's ever been. The expectations are high, but I feel like we wouldn't see this level of almost doubling down at this point in the offseason unless they were very confident in what they saw, both defensively and offensively. I think they're internally high on Watson, and I think they're really high on this defense. And that's just reading the tea leaves and looking at how different they respond to certain problems, right? K. York issues. I think last year they would have waited that out during the regular season. This year they kind of made an aggressive trade to fix it. The fact that they brought in Shelby Harris in the middle of the training camp, something that I've mentioned before they made that move, the move that they never made, right? We talked about it for 3 years, bringing a defensive tackle, and they did not do it. They did it this year. So just looking around and how they respond to these problems that pop up and how different that is than what they normally do, that tells you everything you need to know about how they feel internally. And this could be right, this could be wrong, but they feel great in August. And I don't think they felt this great about the team since they've been here in 2020. The next video I'm taking comments from is the Browns trading Josh Dobbs. Andrew Johnson says, I love the trade in terms of maximizing the assets we have. Not loving that we lost the buffer against DTR hype. People are already suggesting he'll be in for package plays. This is just going to be a thing here for a while. Even if Watson's really good this year, I think it's going to take a few years for Browns fans in general to kind of fall out of the habit of always being in love with the backup. And like when I say that Browns fans have this habit of being in love with the backup, it's not even at the quarterback position. You'll see Browns fans do this with the backup offensive coordinator, right? Like how many people have pretended as if AVP is this limited genius, right? That Kevin Stefanski's putting the handcuffs on and he won't let him release his genius, right? Like I've seen these takes, man, where people tell me that AVP is being handcuffed by Kevin when that's not even the case. It's just our love of the backup for whatever reason. Whether it be because the quarterbacks were so terrible here for so long, or the team was so bad, or the offenses were so bad, we have a bit of an exception with backup quarterbacks. And there's going to be people who want DTR to play. There's going to be people who think DTR is going to be the future of the franchise. And, they're probably not going to be right. So, it just, sometimes what I've learned is sometimes you're going to hear things that are wrong and you want to explain to the people who are saying it why it's wrong. But sometimes that energy just can be better spent elsewhere. And that's what I would recommend, Andrew, because we know people going to be like this. It is what it is. I'm just going to try to spend my energy elsewhere. T Driver says, crazy to think that Bakers and Dobbs were both traded for a fifth. Now, to be fair, Baker was traded for a conditional fourth. That was a fifth. And honestly, if you look at what Baker gave the Panthers and what Josh Dobbs is probably going to give the Cardinals, it's proper value. Because Baker was terrible for the Panthers. So a 5th round pick for that flyer, it's about as proper as trading for Josh Dobbs. So yeah, it's insane because Josh Dobbs, he doesn't have the 2 decent seasons that Baker Mayfield had under his belt. But hey, the market's the market. This next video I'm taking comments from is from the Browns starters destroy the Chiefs video. So we're reacting to the Browns starters here. This guy, Michael, says JOK is also quietly getting ready for a breakout year. The extra weight looks good on him. Some of the weaknesses of Schwartz schemes are outside contained and against the screen game. But JOK is the potential X factor to combat those holes. I really like the way this defense is shaping up. I would also add Grant Delpit to that conversation, right? If those two can play at a high and instinctive level, then this defense might not have that many weaknesses, right? Because JOK is one of the quickest guys. He can come down on screens on one side. You got Grant Delpit there. He's really good at that. If he plays like last year, and if JOK plays more like his rookie year or improves upon his rookie year, this is going to be a really, really good defense, because then you're talking about 2 players who can fix some of the weaknesses of a Jim Schwartz defense. Now, there's still going to be times where they're going to get screened. That's just going to happen. That's the nature of the beast. But if you have guys who can make plays on those screens, then you're just eliminating things that can be used against you. And that's going to be very useful for this team. Troy said in this same video, DW4 looks great even without Chubb. No other team can run 24 on the field to go along with an elite passing game and a pretty damn good offensive line. In the same way, no other team could throw Myles Garrett on the field with the already dominant defensive line. Get ready, y'all. It's actually happening in front of our eyes. The Browns are becoming a beast. They are the team that I feel like if you're in the AFC, you hope isn't good, that you hope doesn't figure it out. Because this is the team that if they wake up and play to their potential, could completely change the dynamic of the AFC. And that's not hyperbole, right? People have been obsessed with the Browns' talent for years because they know this is a possibility. If this team plays their full potential, if Deshaun Watson is a MVP level quarterback, if they get the offensive line play they've gotten, if they get Myles Garrett playing at a high level in this defensive line, this is a borderline juggernaut. They think about the Philadelphia Eagles and everything that they've been able to do and the havoc that they've been able to create, especially with their defense. And imagine their defense with better players. because the Browns have that potential, right? Myles Garrett is better than any player that the Philadelphia Eagles have. You look at somebody like Denzel Ward, like they have good corners in Philly, but like Denzel Ward is a different story. Greg Newsome is a different story than what they have. Like the Browns don't only have the really good players, they have the elite players. And then you pair that with the offense with some really good wide receivers, an elite running back, and potentially an elite quarterback. Yeah, if this team wakes up, it's going to be trouble for the AFC. I think a lot of teams are hoping that the Browns don't figure this out. And if they do, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for the AFC. Browns replace Cade York, trade for running back and cut Anthony Schwartz. Hey, man, AB was busy. My guy Mighty says Goodwin is really good news. He's been really high on third down conversion receptions, so now we'll have 2 top 5 in that category in the last 5 years, and Goodwin and Cooper. Sucks about York. The baseline is he didn't pass the eye test for a good kicker. Overcoming adversity through hard work is an admirable trait. Yeah. And to talk about the Goodwin thing, I think also he adds somebody who could be a consistent vertical threat. And with Jakeem Grant gone for the year, most likely you're going to really need that element to step up in this offense. So I think that's great that he's there. Again, I don't expect him to have 700 yards or something like that, but I think he's somebody who can have a really impactful 200 to 400 yards. You know what I mean? WWZ says, I think you're right in both cases, talking about my opinion on Anthony Schwartz and Cade York. I had a job that did not work out. Best thing for me was starting over somewhere else. Now, in the case of Schwartz, I agree. He doesn't have the skill set to be an NFL wide receiver. He took it hard. Browns tried hard. It just didn't work. Looks like he already has made about $2.5 million in his short career. He'll probably catch on with somebody's practice squad. He really needs to think about the next phase of his life post-football. I think York will be able to bounce back. Might be a few years, but a fresh start will do him good. Yeah, I generally agree with this. My analogy I used in the video was how many times in people's personal lives have they had to make a change? And that's what spurred everything to be different, right? Like I went to high school at a school that really didn't value academics, right? Like it just wasn't funded well enough. It was an unfortunate situation, but it wasn't a great environment to learn things, right? There was too many distractions. It was too easy to be distracted. It was too easy to kind of do whatever you wanted. So it wasn't an environment where I was going to academically thrive. I knew that, in high school, right? I knew some of my own flaws. So when I went to college, it was a complete 180 for me, because I was all of a sudden in an actual academic environment, right? Where there were resources for you, where there were spaces for you to study, where the expectation was that you were going to try to do your best at your academic pursuits. You know what I mean? Like that was so important for me, and that change of scenery completely flipped where I was. Now, going back to the Cade York situation, or even Anthony Schwartz, maybe this wasn't the environment for him, right? For Cade York, maybe the pressure was way too much, way too early, right? Maybe it was something even simpler, right? Maybe it was the fact that, he was the youngest guy on the special teams posse, right? The punter is a vet and the long snapper is a vet. So he maybe just didn't have anybody that he really connected with. It made him feel kind of like an outsider. And the more kicks he missed, the more he felt like an outsider, and it was too much for him, right? I don't think we think about these things enough when we bring a rookie kicker in. Part of the reason why drafting kickers is such a terrible endeavor is because we really don't be thinking about what we're bringing a rookie kicker into. We don't do enough thought, enough prep, or anything. In my mind, if I'm bringing in a rookie kicker, I'm also bringing in a young long snapper, and I'm bringing in a young punter. Not because I need to replace all those pieces, but because I need to give this guy people that he can be cool with. You know what I mean? I think that is one of the most important things for young players and for every other position. If you're a corner and you get drafted, there's going to be guys on that team that you can talk to and relate to because you're basically just a young football player. There's tons of those. A young kicker, though, is a different story. And like a DB that's drafted in the 7th round ain't got nothing to relate to with Cade York. It's stuff like that that I think goes underthought about, right? If that's even a proper term. But that's one of the things with him that I'm like, yeah, we kind of just undersold how important those things are. The mental stuff is with him. With Anthony Schwartz, it might have been a combination of like maybe he's doing something, he's trying to make something happen, but he just doesn't have the natural ability in some ways. And it's frustrating from him because since he's fast, everybody expects him to be a great wide receiver and hopes for him to be a great wide receiver, but that's nothing he can live up to. That's got to bring a mental toll up to you, man. Football is not just the game of X's and O's. It's a game of people. We forget this a lot. And the people stuff is so important. You can argue it's almost as important as all the other stuff. These dudes aren't robots, man. They got stuff going on. They have lives. Like, this is some serious shit. And sometimes it just doesn't work out because people got stuff going on. The same way you might have been good for a job in your late 20s, but you got that job in your early 20s. And in your early 20s, you just wasn't at the right place in your life for that job to work out. You know, we got to think about this like they're working a job, because at the end of the day, even though it's a glamorous job, a job that many of us would love to have, it's still ultimately we're talking about people who are at their job. And we should remember that when we discuss it. This video was about real expectations for Watson. What does 2020 Deshaun Watson actually mean? This comment from my guy here says, your upload timing has been all over the place this week. I'm not going to complain about extra vids though. My upload timing actually hasn't been erratic. It's actually been pretty consistent. It's just I've been uploading 2 videos a day pretty routinely for the last few weeks. So here is my plan for September. I've kind of hinted at this, but here is my plan. I'm going to try to upload 2 to 3 videos a day in September. And if I upload 3 videos, there will be one that comes out at 7:30, one that comes out at 3, one that comes out at 6. Most likely it's probably going to be 2 videos. We'll see how I feel. Every once in a while, we're going to get hit with the triple video day. If it's a news heavy day, or if there's just a lot of stuff I want to talk about. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more uploads on this channel. I think I've started it this month in August by doing more double uploads, and you'll see even more uploads in the month of September, especially once the football season starts. You know, it's a combination of me getting to a place with YouTube, me getting to a place with my process where I feel like I can upload more videos without sacrificing the quality of those videos. And I think that I finally gotten to that place where I can start to upload at a more frequent rate. So yeah, that's why the upload timing has been a little bit different and why you see more videos in your sub box. I hope that's something y'all all look forward to and appreciate. But let me know. The Book of Kenny says, I'm glad someone finally brought up 2019 Deshaun Watson. That was his best version of himself. He beat Mahomes, Brady, Allen. Derek Carr is a bit of a stretch. But Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, and we put Tannehill in here, and should have beat Breeze that season. That's the version of him that the Browns can win close games with. Look, if Deshaun Watson's playing well, you're going to win close games. The problem with him in Houston, in his last year in Houston, why they won 4 games, was because there were no close games. They just stunk. But yeah, if he plays well, then he's going to be able to win you close games. I mean, just look at his entire career. There's no reason to doubt. that. Who made the Browns 53 roster? So your reactions to the final roster. My man AJ says Hurst will be back on the team in 2 days. He doesn't have to clear waivers. They needed to cut Hurst and Dunn to keep the other two on the original 53, then place them on short-term IR 4 games, then bring back Hurst and Dunn. I hope so, because I thought Hurst had a pretty good preseason. And I think I also wonder, like, how does that work? Does Hurst get like a bonus, or not like an actual bonus, but like, since you get a guarantee for that first contract and you get cut and then you sign a new contract, do you get more of a guarantee? Like, does he end up making more because the Browns did this and that's why he's willing to play this game a little bit? I think that's probably why, but we'll see. My car says here, I understand why they cut and kept the players they did. I just don't agree with it. Watkins was too good in the preseason to be cut. Yeah, I don't know. I just, with Watkins, you have to remember with wide receivers, sometimes, and I got to figure out a way to put this properly. Sometimes, while it's entertaining that a dude like Watkins is making plays and tremendous catches against the 3s and the 4s, while that can be entertaining, I also don't think that that's something that the wide receiver coach for the Browns is going to see and think is as encouraging as fans do. Not because the wide receiver coach doesn't appreciate the fact that he can make a tough catch or make a tough grab. It's that for if you wanted Austin Watkins to be a 53-man roster contributor, right, on game day, you would want his completions to look like he has to work less hard to make them, right? It's not going to be universally seen as a positive that he has to work that hard in order to get a catch against the third team. Now, it seems harsh, but it's real. If he was just dusting everybody and wide butt booty naked open in the preseason all the time and in training camp all the time, oh, no doubt he would have stayed on this roster, right? But that's not what we saw from him. We saw him making a lot of like contested catches and things that look really cool when you get a camp highlight, but things that Chad O'Shea's going to look at and go, man, you got to be more open than that. You want to be on the main roster. Like, that's just my 2 cents on the whole Watkins thing. I understand why people enjoy him. I understand why people are bummed out, but I can understand the perspective of the coaching staff to be like, hey, somebody who makes the roster, it needs to look a little easier. Like, they don't need to have to work this hard to get open versus the 3rd and 4th stringers. And I think that's why they prefer keeping David Bell, because it just didn't feel like David Bell had to put that much of an effort in to get open versus those guys. Those plays didn't make the highlight reels because he was just wide open. That's not fun to put up on the highlights when somebody's just wide open against the 4s, right? So this next one comes from Farp, who says, I do have a question. What can the Browns do if Hopkins re-injures his quad during the middle of a game against Cincinnati or Pittsburgh on a Monday night? Who kicks? So this is an emergency kicker question. If your kicker gets hurt, you can use your punter. For extra points, at least, your punter should be able to do that. And anything other than that, you just don't kick a field goal. So it's pretty simple. You know, field goals just become less of an option. You go for it more often. And that's pretty much it. So I don't think it really changes that much. But thank you for the question. And thank you guys for the comments. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night.